we have our edit rooms here, and if you want, I can just take you down and show you a little bit of the film.
הסרט יומני ביבי מעורר סערה עוד לפני שהוא שלם. מי שעומד מאחוריו הם הבמאית אלכסיס בלום והמפיק אלכס גיבני, שניים מיוצרי הדוקו המוערכים ביותר בעולם. הסרט הכיל צילומים שטרם נראו בחדר החקירות בתיקי האלפים, חקירות של ראש הממשלה נתניהו, רעייתו שרה ובנו יאיר, שעות ארוכות שנערכו לסרט אחד, שמשלב גם רעיונות של בכירים עיתונאים ומקורבים לשעבר.
The footage, the interrogation videos were originally leaked to me, and what convinced me that it was powerful material was that you had an unvarnished look at Bibi Netanyahu, his wife, Sarah, his son Yair, and also an up-close and personal look at a criminal investigation into corruption. That set Netanyahu in a completely different light. And so as a result, it seemed eminently important to make the film. This was back, I would say, in 2023, long before 10/7.
For you, what was the most powerful part of the raw material?
There are a lot of powerful parts. I would say that Bibi's denials and saying that he doesn't remember, for me, was the most striking, because it just isn't possible that he doesn't remember so many things. It was dozens and dozens of times, to the point where the police were saying, you know, how can you not remember? It was in your house. I don't remember. And just the repetition of not remembering, like he didn't care whether they believed him or not, was to me really, really striking.
I think the material on Sarah Netanyahu is fascinating. Same thing with Yair. The enormous amount of influence that they have over him comes through in the film. And also, it was interesting for me to see that Netanyahu, even with the police, is very performative. Nevertheless, he's performing for an audience of 3 that he thinks will never leave the room. But I suspect, you know, for example, he said about Hamas, and this is prior to 10/7, to quote The Godfather, he said, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I don't think he would have said that before the U.S. Congress.
The disrespect that is shown to the police by Sarah and Yair was really striking. They're so rude to them. You know, the police will ask them something, you know, excuse me, you know, could you tell me about the deliveries of champagne? Why? Why are you asking? If you ask me again, I'm just going to walk out of here. You know, kind of an instant disrespect. Yair calls the police the Gestapo. He calls them the Stasi. He says their questions are, I mean, I can't use the language that he uses on television. So I was struck by that. I you know, just the disrespect, the rudeness.
I think it's a portrait of venality and corruption. But beyond that, I think the film that Alexis has put together, which is so powerful, takes that venality and corruption that you see as part of the police investigation and takes it to another level, because it's Netanyahu's attempt to elude a reckoning, a legal reckoning in this case, that has led to the greatest moral corruption, which is his creating this cabinet that vests so much power in the most extreme right-wing racist parts of Israeli society, and then from there has taken Israel and the world to the brink of world war. So that is a kind of moral corruption that stems from the initial corruption that is really staggering.
Can you take us a little bit behind the scenes, how he was leaked to you? Obviously, you can't go into all the details.
All I can say is that I was leaked the material in early 2023. It was a lot of material, because it was basically all of the interrogation videos that the police conducted as part of this corruption investigation into Netanyahu. So I knew I had something powerful, but it was the enormity of it that was difficult to penetrate. And also I had to keep it a secret for a long time.
So you've said you've started working this prior to October 7th.
Yeah.
How has that changed the film?
The war changed everything, I think. It just made the stakes much higher. I don't know whether it changed Netanyahu. It made me conscious that we have a very profound responsibility here to get our facts straight, to be very conscious of what Israel is going through and what a difficult time it is for Israelis now. And we're acutely conscious of that.
I agree with that. And I particularly agree that that must be said to refute the claims that Netanyahu has to be above criticism because this is a time of war. I think it's precisely the cynicism with which he's waging this war that demands that we explore this territory.
השבוע הם ערכו שתי הקרנות ראשונות בפסטיבל טורונטו. ישראלים רבים הגיעו לצפות ולהפגין נגד נתניהו מחוץ לאולם. ההקרנה הייתה עוד לפני שהסרט הושלם סופית כדי לסגור חוזה הפצה.
Why did you decide to screen something that is still work in progress?
Because of the urgency of discussion, because people are dying. And because there's so much at stake. I mean, honestly, you asked me about what was different doing this project before October 7th and after. I think that it's really acutely important that, you know, Israel has a leader that they can really trust and really believe in.
לפי החוק אסור לשדר קטעי וידאו מחקירות, ולכן את הרוב המוחלט של הסרט לא ניתן להקרין בישראל. ראש הממשלה עתר לבית המשפט בניסיון לעצור את הקרנת הסרט גם בפסטיבל טורונטו, ניסיון שנכשל.
I have an agreement with the source not to distribute the film in Israel because of this privacy law. But there's nothing that he can do, as far as I'm concerned, to prevent the international distribution of the film, which I think urgently wants to be seen by people all over the world. And one of the things we know from Toronto is that we were approached by scores of distributors from everywhere, whether it be the United States or the United Kingdom or France or Germany or Australia, desperately wanting to get this on as quickly as possible, and that's what we intend to do.
A lot of people would say, and also that what also Netanyahu argues, that this is a political interference, that this movie is something that is helping his political rivals, and it's something that Israelis should decide and not someone coming from the outside. How do you answer that?
Well, I would say that this is a moral issue, not a political issue. Now, to some extent, in this country, it's a political issue because the United States has to reckon with the degree of support that they're giving to Netanyahu and his coalition. Because let's be honest, it's a little bit unclear as to whether Netanyahu is in charge or the coalition of, say, Ben-Gvir and Smotrich are in charge. But I'd say that this goes beyond party politics. This goes to matters of urgent international importance and life and death. So you can call that political, or you can call it one of the biggest moral issues of our time.
I don't think this film is going to hurt Israel at all. We've been really, really careful to put on display the best and the brightest of Israel. They are very articulate, they are very passionate, and they are very patriotic. So that is a key part of this film. All throughout the making of the film, we thought this is not a film that is anti-Israel. It is not designed as such. It's a film that's designed to show what Netanyahu and his family are like, and what the trial is like, and what the trial has led to. I think that it's a movie that actually might help Israel, because there's some really thoughtful, intelligent, insightful Israelis in this film who talk about the political landscape and life in Israel in a very thoughtful way. And not one Israeli who's seen it has said that it's an anti-Israel film. They might not agree with the politics in it, but nobody said that.
I agree. And I think if this film has a real contribution to make, it is to separate, or is to make a distinction between Netanyahu and the state of Israel.
אלכס גיבני יוצר דוקו עטור פרסים שנחשב לאחד הדוקומנטריסטים החשובים בעולם. הוא מתמקד בסרטים על שחיתות כמו על פוטין, היזמת הידועה לשמצה אליזבת הולמס, והסרט המדובר על הסינטולוגיה. אלכסיס בלום הבמאית שיתפה איתו פעולה גם בסרט על רוג'ר איילס, מנכ"ל פוקס ניוז, שהואשם בתקיפות מיניות.
You have made films about dictators and opposition leaders and people that are genius and mean and all kinds of characters. How would you characterize Netanyahu?
How would I characterize Netanyahu? Lacking moral fiber. That's how I would characterize him. Unfortunately, not as a person who's terribly trustworthy.
אחרי שקיבלו פניות ממספר גורמי הפצה, המטרה שלהם עכשיו היא לסיים את הסרט כמה שיותר מהר, כך שיוכל להיות זמין לצפייה ברחבי העולם, אך לא בישראל.